Living off my son's money, and you have the nerve to be rude? My mother-in-law, Catherine's voice echoed through the room. I don't even want to speak to you, she yelled, her words cutting sharply. After that outburst, she began ignoring me completely. Days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, I had endured 3 months of her silent treatment. To compound the situation, Catherine and my husband John did something unthinkable. The key doesn't work, I exclaimed in disbelief, realizing they had changed the locks on our home without informing me. Fed up with their behavior, I quietly sold the house and made the decision to move out. My name is Karen, a 29-year-old office worker. I've been married to John for 2 years now. We first met at a mutual friend's party where he stood out with his charming personality. John, 3 years my senior, works in sales for a traditional company. He's incredibly charismatic and effortlessly entertaining. We hit it off instantly, and soon we were dating regularly. Over time, our relationship deepened, and after 1.5 years, John proposed. I can't imagine my life without you, Karen. Will you marry me? He asked, presenting a ring during a romantic evening at a fancy restaurant with a breathtaking view. It was cliche, but I loved every moment of it and eagerly said yes. And so we tied the knot. Our family gathered, we had our ceremony, and everything went off without a hitch. It was a perfect day, with many of our colleagues and friends joining us, making it a joyous occasion. Following our honeymoon, we began our life together under one roof. Both of us juggle work, so we split household chores to keep things balanced. John, who had experience helping his mother Catherine around the house, was adept at domestic tasks and an excellent cook. His homemade meals were a delight, and on our days off, we cherished our dates and the quality time spent together. I felt incredibly fortunate to have him as my husband. 2 years into our marriage, our love remains strong, and we lead a happy life. However, not everything is perfect. The issue lies with Catherine. From the moment we met, she displayed a cold demeanor towards me. The root of her disapproval seemed to stem from my educational background. Oh, you graduated from a less prestigious college? I find it hard to trust people who didn't excel academically, Catherine once disparaged me. While my college wasn't Ivy League, I chose it for its specialized courses that aligned with my interests. I firmly believe one's educational pedigree doesn't define their worth, especially in the real world. Catherine's remarks about my education caught me off guard and left me feeling deeply hurt. Tension hung thick in the air during our family gatherings, leaving my husband visibly uneasy. I had harbored reservations about Catherine even before we married, but my love for John outweighed my concerns. Since losing her husband a few years ago, Catherine lived alone in her in-laws' home. She frequently visited us, often finding fault with my efforts. Your cleaning skills are lacking. Sloppiness irks me. Ensure every corner is spotless, she'd critique, oblivious to the fact that John had cleaned just the day before. Not wanting to provoke further conflict, I remained silent, apologizing and weathering her criticisms. Yet Catherine's visits persisted, each one bringing new disparagements. You lack education, can't manage household tasks, and haven't even started a family. What do you even bring to this marriage? Her words stung deeply, especially when I was already feeling vulnerable. Fed up, I finally confided in John. Can't we address Catherine's treatment of me? What about her treatment? She's constantly insulting me, he replied, frustrated. Really? I never noticed. His casual response caught me off guard. My husband didn't perceive his mother's comments as derogatory. Hearing this revelation in our 2nd year of marriage left me stunned. Are you serious? I don't think Mom means to be hurtful, I faltered, questioning my own perceptions. Was I the one overreacting? No, it couldn't be me. It was becoming clear that both my husband and Catherine were out of touch. This realization deepened my growing distrust toward my husband. I had sensed hints of his complex relationship with his mother before, but it hadn't been an issue until now. His issues with his mother were becoming a real concern. Mom thinks you should cook more nutritious meals. Can we add more variety to our menu? He asked one evening. We both have demanding jobs. I can't prepare elaborate meals every day, I replied, trying to balance our responsibilities. A wife's cooking can inspire her husband to work harder and succeed. So please put more effort into cooking. I feel like you've been cutting corners, he pressed, echoing his mother's expectations. Fine. I reluctantly expanded the menu, which made dinner preparation more labor-intensive. However, What truly unsettled me was Catherine's reaction when she found out that my husband was sharing the household chores. How dare you make John do housework? A wife should never do that. Stop it right now. Catherine's voice rang out angrily, pushing me to my limit. Both my husband and I work full-time, so it's only fair to share the chores, I countered calmly. You, my daughter-in-law, dare to speak against me. Unbelievable. This is why I can't tolerate people without proper education. My argument has nothing to do with education. In fact, I believe my perspective is more suited to modern times. I responded firmly. Your views, Catherine, are outdated. My comment caused Catherine's face to flush red with anger. That's enough. Stop mocking me. I won't stand for this. Catherine stormed off to complain to my husband. Furious, my husband called me over. Mom is really upset. Why are you provoking her? I'm not the one causing trouble here. It's your mom. I tried to explain, but my husband shocked me with his response. This is all your fault, isn't it, Karen? Wait, were you listening? He shot me an irritated glance before continuing with a disapproving expression. What's with the attitude? You've become so disrespectful, just like Mom warned. It's not right for a wife to behave this way. Seriously, even you're saying this now. I felt deeply disappointed. I had hoped my husband held different values from Catherine, but it seemed her influence was stronger than I realized. Could I truly find happiness in this marriage? Uncertainty overwhelmed me. Then my husband dropped another bombshell. Mom is moving in with us, he announced. When? Is she coming again, starting tomorrow? I asked, caught off guard. Don't say starting tomorrow like it's temporary, he replied uneasily. So, it's just for tomorrow? I questioned with a sinking feeling. No, she's moving in, starting tomorrow, he clarified. Moving in? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Since when did this become about living together? My mom finds it inconvenient to keep coming over, so we decided it makes sense for her to move in, he explained, oblivious to my shock. What? Why would you make that decision without discussing it with me? I'm the one bringing in the income. This should be my call. It was increasingly clear that my husband was completely influenced by his mother, Catherine. She must have been feeding him ideas about a wife's obedience, but making a unilateral decision for Catherine to live with us was unacceptable. The following day, Catherine arrived as if it were the most natural thing, hauling large bags with her. She confidently claimed a room on the first floor, behaving as though she had always lived there. Karen, get the coffee brewing, will you? You're such an inconsiderate daughter-in-law, she demanded. Hey, Mom's tired from moving. Cut her some slack. Catherine and my husband immediately joined forces to scold me. The thought of this becoming a daily occurrence was unbearable. I started preparing for any unforeseen circumstances. Catherine continued to boss me around, but at the time, I was deeply engrossed in a significant work project and chose to ignore whatever Catherine or my husband said. Why are you coming home so late? It's Karen's job to make dinner. Why are you making us wait? Catherine demanded. I had to work late. Looks like you both ate already. What's the issue? I replied calmly. My husband and Catherine glared at me, their faces flushed with anger. It's infuriating. Living off my son's money, and you dare talk back? I don't even want to speak to you. Catherine's voice boomed with accusation. I couldn't fathom where she got that idea. I wasn't financially dependent on my husband. In fact, I earned more than him. Yet Catherine seemed fixed in her misconception, and soon enough, she began to actively ignore me. No matter if I greeted her politely or asked a question, she brushed me off. To my dismay, my husband started to follow suit, joining her in this cold silence. Before I knew it, I had endured 3 months of being completely ignored. I was deeply engrossed in a demanding work project, and oddly enough, their silence provided a welcomed respite. Who knew being left alone could be so refreshing? They both wore smug smiles, thinking their silent treatment was getting to me. I saw no harm in letting them think so, even affecting a subdued and disheartened demeanor. But as my project neared its peak, the workload demanded even more of my time. Working tirelessly with my team, we finally reached the project's conclusion. In my intense focus, I had completely forgotten about Catherine and my husband. I was so absorbed that their silence, even if intended to bother me, went unnoticed. At some point, Catherine and my husband must have realized their strategy had no effect on me. That's when they resorted to something unthinkable. My key isn't working. No matter how many times I try, it won't fit the lock, I muttered to myself in frustration. It turned out they had changed the locks without informing me. As I struggled outside, attempting to get in, I overheard Catherine and my husband talking inside. Is that a burglar? Catherine's voice sounded alarmed. Ha, but we're home alone, so it can't be a break-in, right? Catherine's voice carried a mocking tone. Maybe it's trespassing, my husband chimed in, joining her laughter. Yeah, maybe we should call the cops, Catherine added, the amusement clear in her voice. Their laughter and casual discussion echoed through the house. I couldn't believe how far they had taken their disregard for me. It was the final straw. Quietly, I resolved to sell the house and move. This house had been my family home, left to me by my parents when they retired to the countryside last year. I have full ownership rights and had already taken precautions, having the house appraised in case I needed to sell it quickly due to Catherine's presence. I relocated to a business hotel and informed my parents of the situation, along with my decision to sell. Disappointed in my husband and Catherine, they gave me their full support. With their encouragement, I promptly contacted a real estate agent and sold the house. I arranged for a locksmith to change the locks, and as I entered the house, Catherine looked at me, visibly startled. How did you get in? You didn't break the lock, did you? Catherine's voice, laced with indignation, pierced the air, a sound I hoped to never hear again. Ignoring her protests, I began packing my belongings. Say something, I'll call the police for trespassing, she threatened, her voice growing more frantic. Ignoring her threats, I proceeded with my departure, accompanied by movers who swiftly began transporting my larger items. Catherine continued shouting accusations, calling me a thief, but I remained steadfast in my silence. The locksmiths and movers seemed uneasy around Catherine, likely sensing the tension. I had informed them beforehand that Catherine was my husband's mother, suffering from a severe mental condition, and that she had mistakenly changed the locks, believing my home to be hers. The more she screamed, the more evident her condition appeared. Suppressing a smirk, I efficiently directed the move. Soon, all my belongings were gone. I left pre-filled divorce papers on the table and exited without acknowledging Catherine's tirades. As I walked away, Catherine's shouts faded into the background. Let her taste the bitterness of being ignored completely. Later that night, my husband called me, seething with anger. What do you think you're doing, taking things from this house? I decided to confront my husband directly. What are you talking about? I've only taken what I purchased with my own money. Let's not forget, the house itself was passed down to me by my parents. You've been so focused on pleasing Catherine that you've started to believe your own falsehoods. It seemed my words finally struck a chord with my husband. His phone was on speaker, and I could also hear Catherine's voice interject. Wait, what's going on? Perfect. Since Catherine was listening, I continued firmly. Catherine, listen carefully. I've already sold the house, so I need you to leave immediately. And please sign the divorce papers. If you refuse, I'll pursue this through the courts. Both of them fell silent, clearly taken aback by my declaration. Are you giving me the silent treatment again? That's fine, but know that I will not hesitate to enforce this. I knew their silence was not because they were ignoring me, but because they were stunned. Nevertheless, I pressed on. As expected, my husband finally spoke up. Wait, please, but I chose to ignore him and ended the call. Shortly after, I initiated divorce proceedings through my lawyer. My husband promptly agreed, perhaps fearing a drawn-out legal battle. As a result, both my ex-husband and Catherine were evicted. While they could have afforded a decent apartment with the money from the house sale and their pensions, Catherine's reckless spending habits had depleted their resources. She had used my father-in-law's inheritance to pay off debts, leaving my ex-husband struggling to manage the debt she had accumulated. Despite his lengthy explanations and pleas for reconciliation, I chose to ignore him completely. Now, I live alone in a comfortable apartment. I've decided to save the proceeds from the house sale for my retirement. At the moment, I'm focused on advancing my career and aiming for a promotion. Love can wait. I'm prioritizing my own future and stability.